I just recently installed this because I'm pretty new to CO2, and when I first started I didn't have any kind of pH monitor or controller, and somehow when I was adjusting the bubble count one day, I must have nudged it too far or something, but when I came back later, I had a sudden surge of uh, CO2 into the tank, um, and it gassed about 10 or 11 of my cardinal tetras, and uh, they all died, and so that put me in kind of a panic. But then I checked into the monitors, the pH monitors, and pretty much people were saying that one thing you can do is adjust your CO2 bubble count and with the needle dial, so that within your CO2 period you can get your pH to drop 1 to 1.2 pH within your CO2 period. And the very first thing I got was just the monitor, the MC120. But then I checked more into this, which will automatically turn off your CO2 when the pH drops more than the amount that you want it to drop. So the way I have this set, it's connected, the probe, here's the probe on the side of my tank. This is a 20-gallon long, and you calibrate it first, and it's pretty accurate. And this controller works in that I have it set that I want my pH to go no further down than, say, 7.1 or something like that. And so the way I have it set is I flip this to the above and then set this dial to around 7.1. And what that means is that this is activated, this controller is activated anytime that the pH is above 7.1. So if it goes below 7.1, then this controller will deactivate, which means it will turn off my CO2. Say if my pH went below 7.1, then this the red light won't be flashing anymore. This controller will switch off and it will turn off my CO2. The controller it's this cord here, goes down, and I don't know if you can see it here, but it's that bottom. The controller is the big plug that's plugged into my smart power strip, which I have on a timer. And then my CO2 is plugged into the Milwaukee controller plug, the solenoid. And so when the pH controller shuts off, then that solenoid to the CO2 canister shuts off. See that? That's the solenoid plug, and it is plugged into the plug that goes into the pH controller plug, which is the big plug, and I have it plugged into my power strip, which is a smart plug power strip. Anyway, and I basically have my CO2 also, that smart plug will only turn on the CO2 from, I have it set for 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, so 8 hours of CO2 at the most. But anytime within that period that the pH goes below 7.1, for example, then it will shut the CO2 off, and then it will turn it back on once the pH goes above 7.1. It'll turn the CO2 back on. And so it's a safeguard, because when I first set up my CO2, I didn't quite know what I was doing, and I adjusted the needle valve, I guess incorrectly, or I nudged it or something. And when I came back later, I noticed a big surge of CO2 going into my tank, and I had a lot of dead fish. I didn't want that to happen again. So this pH controller gives me much more peace of mind. And so I would recommend it once you figure out how to use it.